Whitewashing a brick fireplace is a very easy and inexpensive way to give it a nice facelift. And I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. All the products I'm going to use in this video will be linked in the description below. Let's get started. The fireplace we are whitewashing is unpainted brick. If you happen to have an already painted brick fireplace, no worries. I'll show you a different way to get a similar look later in the video. Our first step, like any paint project, is surface prep. So you want to inspect your mortar, make sure there's no gaps, cracks, or anything like that. In this case, our fireplace is in great condition. That's some good looking mortar right there. If you need to make any mortar repairs, we have a great DIY tutorial on how to do that. Check it out right here. Before we do anything to this fireplace, we're going to protect the area around it. We're going to mask off the mantle and the trim, and we're going to put some drop cloths on the carpet to protect the floor. The only place we want paint today is on this brick, nowhere else. We're also going to want to make sure our brick fireplace is clean of any dirt and debris before applying any paint. The easiest way to do this is with trisodium phosphate, also known as TSP, and with a scrub brush. We'll take special care to remove any soot from around the fireplace opening. Once clean, we'll give the brick a rinse with water. You'll want to follow the manufacturer's instructions and be sure to allow the brick to dry completely before you start your painting process. Now we're going to move on to the whitewashing technique. It is a watered down paint technique and essentially give it a more translucent look. We want some of that brick to come through still without totally painting over it solid. I like to use a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 part water, 1 part paint. I have 24 ounces of water in this cup and I'm going to add 8 ounces of paint to this cup and mix them all together. You can experiment with your paint to water ratio to get the consistency that you like. If you want it to be more see-through, go with more water. If you want more solid coverage, use less water. Now it's time to test it. I'm going to test it in a small, inconspicuous area to make sure it's the finish that I want. If you need more paint, you can add more paint. If you need more water, you can add more water. But it's always good to start off in a small area. That way you can test it and see if it's the finish or the look that you're going for. So the look I'm going for is more of a weathered look, more texture. When I brush it on, I want full coverage for the brick. Then I go back with the rag, removing paint from areas to give it a little bit more contrast. So I'm liking the way it looks, now I'm gonna move on. The key here is to follow up with the rag immediately as the paint is still wet. If I take off too much with the rag, I can always go back and brush it on again. It's really about finding your personal technique. Mine is a brush rag combo. One thing to note, we're not actually going to paint the inside of this fireplace, it's going to be in contact with the flames. So we'll stop right here where the face brick meets the inside. The consistency of this is very watery, it's a messy job. So we want to work top down because our paint is very drippy. We don't want to have our paint run down on anything that we've already done, it's a waste of time. So the brush I'm using is a chip brush. It's nice and small, it gets in those nooks and crannies very well. It's an inexpensive brush that works great for this process. Brick is pretty rough and it's rough for my brush. I recommend having 2 or 3 on hand to get through one fireplace like this. I'm applying the paint a few bricks at a time, and then I'm going back afterwards to dab with the rag. Now, if you already have painted brick, you can still achieve a whitewash look. Here's how to do it. Your prep process is still going to be the same. You want to repair and clean brick as needed. For this brick, we have a white base coat, so we're going to go with a slightly darker gray beige tone to create our whitewash look. You always want at least some contrast between the colors. Cut a sponge the size of your brick. Dampen the sponge and wring it out enough to stop it from dripping. Dip the sponge into paint, then blot out any excess onto a scrap piece of cardboard or paper. Take the painted side of the sponge and press onto each of your bricks. You can vary how much paint you put onto each brick to create a more natural look. This is a great option for a fresh look on already painted brick. As you can see, that was a very easy process and it took me about an hour from start to finish. This fireplace looks awesome and incredible. Hope you learned a lot and now feel confident enough to do this in your own home. And remember, you can find all the info on the products we use in this video in the description below. Thanks guys.